There we go. Beautiful. Okay. Got a couple more joining the waiting room. Welcome. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming along today. We're really excited to have you here. It is a small group today, but that means that we can keep it quite interactive and have that coaching element. And as we're talking about building and nurturing your business network. So yeah, absolutely. Let's keep this interactive as possible. We want to hear from you, so don't be shy. Feel free to jump in and share your thoughts. Keep your cameras on and let's make this a conversation. So for those of you who don't know me already, my name's Trinity James and I'm with Business Station. And we work with small business owners like you to help you grow your businesses through strategy, marketing, networking. We do a whole lot of coaching and training initiatives and workshops. And joining me today is our CEO, Colin. Colin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. Thanks, Trinity. Yes, so I've got the CEO role at Business Station. Currently today I'm down in Bunbury at Nala Budja Kudja organisation, Aboriginal organisation, doing some work with the federal state government, I should say. And so I'm in funny surroundings. So I don't know what's in the background here, but so if anyone's wondering, it's probably some pictures, but just it's not my usual office. Yeah, so I've been with Business Station for about 6 years. We support small business through incubators as well as through SPDC and different government federal programs we've had over the years. Yeah, so we understand small business, we understand the community, and we want to support that. But basically, prior to that, my industry, it's more of a business in industry rather than in small business. But hopefully we've got a little bit of something different to share today, and networking and selling and communicating will be what we're going to talk about today. And hopefully my good friend Trinity here will ask all the right questions and make it easy for me to help out.
Absolutely.
Please interact, by the way, too. This is meant to be a collective, not just us giving you a talk. All right?
Precisely. So I'd love to go around and have a couple of people introduce themselves. If anybody wants to put their hand out, just your name, your business, and one word that describes how you're feeling currently about networking. Daniel, can we start with you?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Daniel. Obviously, I own a gym in Falcon. Networking is probably my worst nightmare, to be honest. Although I have a very social job, the thought of going to these big events and getting around in it as an introvert is pretty scary. So I'm trying to get some tips to improve.
Oh, fantastic. You're in the right place. What's the name of your gym?
Florida Beach Fitness.
Oh, fantastic. Good to have you with us here today.
Thank you.
Wendy, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
I'm Wendy and I work for Peel Community Legal Services. Part of my role is community engagement. So networking to me is probably one word, it's two words, building relationships. So I have to link in with a lot of community groups, services and individuals as well.
Absolutely. You are in the right place. And if anyone else wants to jump in throughout, feel free to use that chat box. I'm going to keep that open. If you want to drop some words in there about how you're currently feeling about networking, that'll help us set the stage and make sure that we're making this as relevant as possible for you. And yeah, Colin, I would love to kick off to you first. And would you like to share a time when networking directly led to a big opportunity for you, or maybe a business that you've been working with as a coach?
Sure. Okay, I've got two, and I just had one 5 minutes ago, so I'll probably share that shortly. Daniel, you'll appreciate this. I hate networking. You've got often the sort of networking, the stuff I end up doing, but we have someone that's not muted there, I think. So I'm getting this feedback coming through. Anyway, yeah, so just on that, Daniel's, a lot of time I'm now going into some pretty high level networking groups, and you've got some senior ministers and a lot of government officials and some reasonably high level business people as well. And you go into these and you've got this, not the imposter syndrome, but that sort of style of thing. So what do you start with? Who do you ask? How do you do it? I can think of one occasion. This particular one was a fair few years ago. It was at the 500 Club, and I knew Ken White was going to be there, the Minister for Aboriginal Affairs. And I was just, what do I say? How do I, a little lonely, we've just started a business station, I really don't know anyone, et cetera, et cetera. What do I do? And so I stayed away in my own little corner, found someone I know, as you do, and you're comfortable. And now you're talking with someone that you're not networking, you're talking with someone you could just do that at the pub. So you've got to break out. So I've got to put my big boy pants on was going in my head, but I still couldn't get over it. Anyway, what ended up happening is a lady called Sandra Tricoli, who used to do a lot of work for us in marketing. I was telling her, she turned up, so I gravitated over there, as you do, again, comfortable. And then she goes, no, come on, you've got enough to say. You're clever. Just get over yourself here. And then she took me over and we stood there and she just went, this is Colin from Business Station. And then she walked away. I was like jumping in the deep end sort of things.
You
Look, I
met
just,
Colin.
well, so yeah, exactly. So look, I'll just then, you find what's the common ground. So the easiest way I found that then was purely just asking questions. Don't talk about yourself. Get them talking, get that comfortable factor. And that particular occasion, there was someone I wanted to know. And so I really knew where to channel. I didn't know a lot about him. So I just, what sort of role, how's it working, whatever the questions were. So I found that's the way. And from that point on, that's where now every single one I go to, I don't talk a lot at all. It's really, I try to find out about them and get them engaging. And then if they're an interesting and nice person, they'll ask you back and then you grow from there. So that was my little trick that I used on that one. But I'll talk about today's one in a minute, but I'll just see where Trinity's going with any more questions.
No. I really like that advice, actually, getting to know them first. Just approaching every situation with that element of curiosity is a really great way to get started. Yeah, but yeah, share today.
Can I just, Daniel, just given that you brought it up and I know I've directed it direct at you, how does that, is that the sort of thing you would do or don't do, or what holds you back from?
Yeah, I do always like to ask, obviously, questions of other people and whatnot, and not talk about myself. But it's just, I guess, the small talk and initial walking over to someone is just scary to me, and just walking into a big group and like you say, a lot of people. Whereas I think I'm just some dude with a gym, and this person's some higher up or something. It can be very intimidating. I just find it hard just getting it started. Just getting the guts to turn up there in the first place really is probably the issue for me. So I just try and get some tips so I can just start getting into it.
Yeah. So think about, so if you're a business owner, okay, and a lot of people would look at you and go, oh, he's a business owner, he's successful, he's really clever, he's smart. That's what they'll look at, right? And that's what you're doing. You're projecting that onto others that you're not worthy of. And so if you think about that young 18-year-old or 20-year-old coming to see you, or even for a job interview, the power you hold. So just think about that and then realize that their people, your people, as an example, Ken White, just what a lovely person. And obviously you are going to come across idiots, but you don't need to sell yourself initially. That's for sure. You just need to talk, just in a conversation. Just like, what do you do when you're having I don't know, the old barbecue thing? What do you do there? Is that different for you, or is that the same?
Oh, it's not too. If I know everyone, it's all right.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that's much. It's a bit easier when you're having a beer and a barbie as opposed to a sort of a formal event sort of thing.
Okay. So I'll go a little bit further with another tip. Then preparation.
Yeah.
So and I'm sure I'm going to jump in and kill. Sure, I'm sure Trinity's got a little process of how this thing's going to work, but I'm going to jump in anyway. It's that preparation. So it's that, okay, are you at a networking event for business or for yourself, right? So if it's for business, then what is your elevator pitch? What are you going to talk about? Or if someone says to you, okay, Daniel, what do you do?
I own a gym in Mandurah. Yeah, I guess I would say what we do, who we help.
Okay. So that's as boring as batshit, right? How about saying, look into yourself first and go, sorry about that, but let's just be real. Now put your hand on your chest and say why you do what you do. Tell me why you do what you do.
We try and help people become the best version of themselves and improve their lives and their quality of life and feel better about themselves, I guess. Improve their health.
So now there's a conversation I want to have with you, because now it's, how do you do that? The process. So you're giving me your why.
Yeah.
If you've got your why, I'm sorry everyone that I'm talking with Daniel, but I'm using him as an example of, okay, it's always that one kid in the corner that you pick on. But if you use that why concept, all of a sudden you're sitting into your emotional space. You're not sitting in your head space. And your head space can be real salesy.
Yeah.
Because you think, I want to hear what you're going to say. But if you give me your why, you're absolutely, and then I start believing you because I see it in your eyes and I hear it in your inflections and your voices, right? So I believe in what you're saying. So now I'm going, well, look, I'm really interested. How do I make myself better, or whatever the process is? So that would be the biggest tip of all. Understand your why, especially if you want to talk about your business. Understand your why. Talk about your why. and that'll come across, and that'll just open barriers really quickly for you.
Absolutely, mate.
And that's with everybody. Yeah. Okay, Trinity.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a great tip to keep it really human and engaging and starting from the why and the emotion behind it, because we're not just sales robots. I think that's great advice. But before we dive into more strategies, it'd be great to talk a little bit more and get clear on what we actually want to achieve through our networking, because it's one thing to go and have a great time chatting to everybody and having a coffee and another brunch or whatever else. But what we want to do is to understand what we hope to gain and what strategy in place it actually has in our business plan. So what are we using this for? Is it to get new clients, build connections in the industry, potentially look for business partnerships or referral partnerships? Or maybe you're even networking to look for people to connect with to get advice or even mentorship from. So, Colin, yeah, I'd love you to guide us a little bit about identifying just how to strategize your networking so you've got a clear goal and one thing that you're trying to gain.
Okay, so I can think about the style of networking that I'll do, which is more in the lines of strategic rather than transactional. And so currently, and I've been doing this for a little while, is a brand awareness program on the core business station I'm talking about now, but on myself, to promote myself as, let's say, an expert in particular areas or a knowledgeable person to go to. So in terms of networking, now networking will be face-to-face or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever it's going to be. So on this occasion, the strategy is on LinkedIn. So we're using LinkedIn, and I'm writing particular newsletters that might be about leadership, but they're not a sales newsletter. There's no call to action, not trying to sell anything. What I'm trying to do is promote myself as a subject expert, so to speak, which will then, of course, then lead to people coming to Business Station to get understanding on leadership or business coaching or whatever particular thing we're working on. So I'll talk with Trinity, and then generally my newsletters are called Thoughts from the Shower, because it tends to be where my brain tends to go when having a shower. Obviously, it must be too long. But I'll think about what's happening in politics at the moment, or I'll think about something that's happened at a meeting like this right now. That'll come to me to go, how could we have done that better? What should we have done? Or should I put a post up about networking? So I'll have this little process that I'll go through that will lead us for the next week or two to where we want to gain business from. And then from that, sitting from that, I'll work with Trinity or one of our other people who will then start doing, say, some Facebook posts or some other posts or links or emails that in some form will link to what I've written about. So that's a network. That's not the whole networking process, but that is a networking strategy. Does that answer that, Trinity?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what I love about that is that you've flipped the script there, because networking isn't just about getting, it's not just transactional, which is exactly what you've highlighted there. It's about giving and sharing, going in with that mindset of what can I contribute, what can I share. And I really do see that building stronger and more authentic relationships, which is exactly what we've seen from examples like your LinkedIn newsletter. So once we've done that, it's great to now identify the kind of people that we really want in our network. So who we're looking to connect with, because exactly what Colin's saying, your business networking, it isn't just clients. It can also include like other local business owners, like people that can be your peers. It can be industry leaders and influencers. It could be, the referral partners, or even, local government or business development groups, that kind of thing. So Colin, would you like to share a little bit about how you identify who should actually be in your network?
Okay, I was thinking something completely different there. I was about to talk about something else. I started to think about giving a little bit. It's so like when you, again, going back to, if I could just finish off that other part.
Yes.
Is it play the long-term game, I should say here. This short transactional stuff, I know we all need cash flow and we need money to survive, but somehow you've also got to be able to play that long-term game. And the long-term game is giving and sharing, supporting another business. Like I'll go around now, talk all about Daniel's Florida Beach gym and tell my friends how wonderful it is. I look really good for doing that. I'm supporting Daniel, but I look really good because I'm supporting it. Now, it's got to be real. I mean, you can't, again, going back to the why, it's got to be emotional. It's got to be real. And if I believe in it, I'll go support it. Now, and that's when you get into that network group of, like you guys say at Peel, hopefully you're all supporting each other's business. Hopefully you're sharing business cards and you're talking, you're understanding what everyone else does and go, the bee lady, oh, that honey was fantastic when we met. So it's just that process. Give yourself credibility in an industry as well. So that was the bit I missed. And I did want to finish on that. So that's okay. In terms of networking, how do I strategize who I want to meet with and go with? Today's an absolute perfect example. I'm sitting down here in Bunbury, Aboriginal organisation, just doing a little bit of, it's basically free mentoring down here and a bit of help for these guys. But I knew that there was some state government people down here. There's about 3 or 4 different ones. Guys I've never been able to get to meet or work with, but I knew they'll be here. And there was about 20 people in the room when I initially walked in. And I thought, oh, yeah, okay, where do I go? Who do I talk to? What I did first thing, I'm standing next to the person I know who's the CEO down here, because that was comfortable. And then straight into my brain goes, what am I going to be talking about shortly? So I got out of my own way and went over and chatted to this guy who happens to be, and I didn't realise at the time, happens to be in Department of Finance. He holds the purse strings for supporting business, Aboriginal organisations and organisations like SBDC. He's the one that hands out the money to all those people. Wow. So there was a 90-10 conversation with him. Me just pumping him for questions and him talking. I've now got a new contact. And then the other guy was from Southwest Land and Sea Commission, who wants some support in their organisation and learn how to better their shared services, or not exactly that, but along those concepts. 2 people today that I met that I think will be of good influence to our organisation purely from that. Now, the most critical part I have to do is follow up. Mm-hmm. Okay, we've met, exchanged cards, LinkedIn profiles, usual stuff. But I've now got to follow up. I've got to follow up on the conversation, get another meeting so it can be a one-on-one and be in depth. All right. It's all well and good to meet people and talk your talk. But if you haven't got that follow-up, what's the point? And just one little sales stat, just for anyone that does sales, 95% of salespeople don't follow up. They come and meet you and they're going to sell you something. You never hear from them again. It's that 5% that make the difference. So that's going to be the same, in my view, with networking. You've met somebody, you've exchanged cards. Don't just put it in your top drawer, wherever you do it, or LinkedIn, and you grow your network. Actually do something with it. Follow up. Find a reason to follow up. And everyone will have a different reason to follow up, but find that reason, make that call, get that cup of coffee and get to know each other.
Absolutely.
Is that what you wanted? Sorry.
Yeah, I really like that, the way that you just illustrated that, yeah, sometimes the best opportunities do come from the most unexpected places, like today, meeting those people. But then also, it's not just about collecting that initial business card or making that initial connection. It's about then following up, building that relationship. So could you tell us a little bit what that looks like in real life? So how do you've met someone at an in-person event, you've listened mostly to them, asked them a whole bunch of questions. How do you follow up?
Yeah, so today, let's be live. What's happening right now? So happy I met today, Andrew. So I've got his card now, of course, and it was the old usual. It wasn't the old usual do lunch, but I said I'll follow up. So that's what I'll do is I've come straight from that to this, so I haven't written notes, but I'll write some notes down shortly, the bits that we talked about. I'll reach out with an email or a phone call to him, text, whichever way. Everyone's a bit different, to get a meeting in a couple of weeks' time to follow up on the ideas. But I now need to quantify the stuff that we were talking about and write it down and then highlight it back to him. This is what we talked about. We'd like to explore that further. Yeah, and just go through that process. This is not an exact science, but that's probably what I'll do for that one. Should we get some other people talking, Trinity?
Absolutely. So I'd love to go around the room and do it live. So what we want to talk about here is think of one person that you've been meaning to reach out to, and let's strategize and workshop a few ideas together about how you can connect with this person and then follow up effectively. Would anybody like to jump in? Oh, Kathleen, we haven't met you yet. Would you like to introduce yourself and say hello and your business?
Sorry, I was late.
That's okay.
I'm the CEO at Peel Community Legal Services. So Wendy's here. She's my executive assistant. So she works with me. So yeah, that's me.
Great. Would you like to share a little bit about how you're expanding your network and how you're following up with those initial conversations?
That, oh, this down so you can hear me.
Oh, that's
I don't know. We've got a pretty good network because we've been around 20 years and we belong to a lot of different interagency networks and projects as well. We're part of Peel Community Development Group, Peel Says No to Violence, all the homelessness interagency. We connect with politicians around our work to make sure that they know what's going on and new politicians. So that's one I'm reaching out to now is a candidate for Labor for the federal, just so that he knows what we do, so that if he does get in, he's aware of what's around and what we do. But we also reach out to the cities, the shires, the CEOs and the presidents of those shires and make contact with them because we do outreach there. So we talk to them to make sure they know what we do and so that they understand our service and what we can do for their communities. So at the moment, our networks are quite wide. And like I said, the one that I'm working on at the moment is that candidate for Labor for the federal seat, for the federal election.
fantastic. And how do you do have an existing network? You've been around for 20 years. What's one way that you've stayed in touch with people in your network and kept those relationships warm and alive?
Emails, updates. So with the politicians, when something new happens, I let them know. When there's a problem that we're seeing in the community, I'll let them know what we're doing about that and how they might refer their constituents to us for that. An example is COVID. I used to send all the politicians an update every 2 weeks on the office status, who we were seeing, how we were seeing them, and all that sort of stuff. So it built that relationship with them, but also more their office staff.
Yes. Yes.
And the office staff are really the ones that you need to make contact with at that level.
Fantastic. And Wendy, I'm assuming you're helping with that too then?
Yeah, well, Kathy does a lot of the high level stuff. I'm more on the ground and linking with community groups and community members. So I would try and keep them engaged because it's important to build that relationships, whether it's just going to meetings together, engaging with an email, checking in to see how they are. What can we do for your organisation? How can we help you? How can we work together on a project? So it's continuously engaging with them groups. And it's really, if you get a card, it's following up, as Colin said, with an email saying it's really nice meeting you. How can we work together? How can we build and stuff, and how we can make an impact as well in the community.
Fantastic. Yeah, there was a good tip from Colin just to keep in touch and send that follow up, because we know that networking is not just about meeting new people. It is about nurturing those relationships over time. And so some great ways to do that, exactly what you guys mentioned with the email updates, or when something changes in the industry, to share that knowledge. But it's something that you can also make part of your regular routine, isn't it, Colin? Would you like to share how you like to keep your network engaged?
Well, I did a little bit because I have that one newsletter. So I've now set up a second newsletter for, so what I was getting, it's just another way of expanding my life out there. But it was really, I was getting really annoyed at watching Facebook posts with people being super negative about local business owners like cafes, or I've got a bad experience at the gym or whatever. And then everyone just jumps on board and it's like they're piling up. It's just unbelievable. So let's have some positivity. So I just started to write then in my newsletter, a separate newsletter, just about, I live up in the Bickley Valley, so I'm a Hills lad. So I just wanted really to start promoting and talking about good experiences when I've been into a cafe or a shop, a shoe shop, whatever. And it actually came from, we did go into the shoe shop and met these people and met the owner and chatting to her. She was lovely. Some staff, and we talked about business because that's just, I can't help myself. We just asked what's going on with their business, where it's going, and who they deal with, whether they get their business from, all that. And it's not about trying to get business from them. It's just a general interest. Anyway, then that afternoon or that night or something, I just read this. Someone was absolutely bagging them on Facebook about lack of service or something, and I thought, 100% contradictory to what I just had. And so I started writing posts and doing that. So expanded my network of people that I spoke to. And then so now I have this two different networks, if you want to call it, one about small business and what are good about small business and just little applauds. And then the other one's about ideas that come into my head, whether it's about, as I said, about leadership or political things or whatever else like that. But where I'm really interested, we've got a few people in there we haven't spoken to yet, actually, Trinity, is, what's the biggest networking challenge that someone has faced here that they could share? I mean, if everyone wants to talk, otherwise you're just going to hear from me. And we need the idea of a group like this. It's a peer group, and you learn from everybody rather than just one person giving, the world calling to Colin, so to speak.
Absolutely. If you want to pop it in the chat, guys, I know a lot of people have mentioned that they're not able to unmute themselves just because of the office that they're sitting in or whatever. So if you want to pop in the chat, I'm happy to read that out for you guys. But yeah, let's talk about what some of your most common challenges with networking. Yes.
Can I just finish on that? That was my lead in to show you what I do at a meeting. I've now passed it on back. I've passed the baton back to you guys, right? That's the trick. That's the art. But you've got to do something now.
I'm glad that you brought up LinkedIn, actually, Colin, because it would be great to talk about that a little bit as well. Hands up here. Does anybody use LinkedIn currently? Pop a yes in the chat if anybody uses LinkedIn for their networking currently. Yeah, some of us do, a few of us. Great, Bronwyn does. Yep, got a few people on LinkedIn. Fantastic. It is such a great tool, especially when used correctly. So, Colin, would you like to share a little bit more about how you're leveraging LinkedIn? Because I think a lot of us hesitate to post on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I was just about to. I wanted to did mention that when you did mention LinkedIn, because a lot of people using social media believe it's a sales tool. Use it as a sales tool, so they hide behind their screen. They're scared to get in front of people and talk. And I understand that we're all part of that. Like, what's going to happen if I offer this service? It's going to get rejected or whatever it's going to be. So, we use LinkedIn and Facebook a lot, all of us, to promote ourselves or promote the organisation. But rarely, unless you're doing an online sales interaction, online product, I should say, rarely will you get a sale from LinkedIn. So it's a brand awareness tool. I'll go back to Daniel because we probably all understand a little bit about what a gym does. Promoting health and fitness, Daniel's top 10 tips on how to be healthy, how to get motivated, actually get out of bed and go to the gym rather than go, it's too hard to go there or on the way home or whatever. How can you get in there? In Daniel's case, I'd be doing that style of stuff I don't know if he's using it, but use and promote and give away stuff, not necessarily a physical product, but give away your thoughts and your ideas and share them. And then obviously trying to grow your network. But to grow your network, sometimes you have to be a little bit controversial. Sometimes, if you're vanilla, you won't get anywhere. I've learned that pretty quick. So you throw a little bit in here and there that you get a few comments on. Obviously, the open questions and try to get into a dialogue would be my little bit on that one, Trinity.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. And I think it's really good just to even just be open and share what you're working on currently. And participate, like people can come along the learning journey with you, because you're right, it's a brand awareness tool. Kathleen, you mentioned that you're using LinkedIn currently. Would you like to share a little bit about how you're utilizing that and what challenges you're experiencing there?
Yeah, we've got the two. We've got Peel Community Legal Services has LinkedIn, and then I have my own. I use it as an awareness tool. I try to relate topics of the current topics to what I post. When there's FDV funding come out, I will put in there how many clients we've seen that have been at risk of family domestic violence, or how many people we've seen that have been experiencing family violence, and what we can do for them. So I try to link it into a topic that's current as well, and then showcase what we do as an awareness thing for people. So we don't need to sell anything because we've got too many clients anyway. We turn away people. But it's more, for me, it's more about the higher level people understanding exactly what we do, because politicians and funders and government departments don't understand exactly what we do, which then impacts our funding and the expectations they have for us.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense, because you're right. You can utilize it as an awareness tool. And look, I think that a lot of people do hesitate about posting because they think, what do I even say? But talking about the most important updates in your industry is a really good way to start. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can just be about sharing what you're working on, a challenge that you're tackling, or even just updates of what's happening in the industry. Another great tip, though, is to engage with other people's posts as well. Is there anybody that's using that strategy? I'm sure.
Rather than just pressing the thumb, rather than just the thumbs up thing, actually making a comment.
Yes.
I do make comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't regularly make comments, but if I'm engaged in the topic, I will make a comment.
It takes a lot of time.
Yeah. I've even commented on Anthony Albanese's stuff when I thought I needed to, or when I felt I wanted to, not needed to, wanted to. So, but I'm picky about what I engage with.
Just thinking about the personal branding side of things, Trinity, like there's two things. There's the persona that you give on LinkedIn, because we spend a lot of time, and even AI, writing the introduction piece or the bio piece that makes us look wonderful and narcissistic and clever and all that sort of stuff. But then how do you then, when you're going into, let's go back to the face-to-face stuff, because I think that's what most people are scared about, walking into a room and meeting, there's 20 people there or 30 people there, and how do you engage with them? How do you get over that fear factor? And I think if you go back, that fear factor, I mean, like I said, I hate networking. I still have this fear factor, Daniel, by the way. I just don't like doing it, but I know I have to because it's what you're there to do. So it's that mind shift. So think about, it's not about what you're going to give, it's about what you're going to give. And so if you've got that mind shift, I think it automatically puts your body language in a different place as well. If your shift is to give, ask questions, be interested in other people, and hold on them and don't look around the room for that next one to come. And actually, I did learn that from Ken White. He was amazing. So here's a minister everyone wants to talk to at this, especially at that time. When he spoke to you, he held you, right? Your gaze, that was it. He didn't look around to go, oh, someone coming that's more important than the guy I'm talking to. He held you. So whether it was 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever it was he held you in time. So get your mind shift right, and that'll get your body right, and that'll put that persona, the aura, whatever you want to call it, around that you're projecting. The preparation side of this is going back to understand clearly and go back to, we talked about the why, but get that pitch right and understand, if you've got that right and you're confident with it, then you'll stand up clearly and you'll give you a little pitch about what you're talking about. And of course, as I said, to me, that will all build into your body language, and your body language will be like the fly attracting the light, or people will come to you. So it's preparation. You've got to be ready to step and go in armed, go in prepared.
How much research would you recommend doing, Colin, before you show up to an in-person event? Are you looking at who's going to be in the room?
Quite often I will do, yeah. Today I knew who was going to be there, but I didn't do any research on those particular people. One we did one up in June, and there was a couple of ministers coming. It was Jackie Jarvis was coming actually up. I can't think of it. It was Melissa Price, somebody else. No, it wasn't Melissa Price. It was someone else, different meetings. Anyway, obviously I checked out, I wanted to know about Jackie, her husband's name, what business they do, because they obviously got the winery, a little bit more about that, what the rest of her portfolio is. And so when I did get the opportunity, I knew I wasn't going to get introduced, so I had to go and do it. So I had some questions lined up ready to ask about, how's Peter going with the winery? And I made it a little bit more informal, but yeah, I didn't do a lot, but just enough that I had some stuff in my head ready, that when I did make the opportunity to go and say hello, I did. Very similar the other day, and I'm going to name drop now, but shamelessly, but I knew I'd been invited to an event, that Peter Dutton was going to be there. I'd heard some stuff about him. I thought he had a farm, and I thought he was from a different background. I realised he was a policeman, his wife and kids, where they live, out in the Moreton Bay district, if you want to call it like that. I'd been there, so I thought, okay, let's put some stuff in your head about that. And that's when I did get the opportunity. It wasn't about politics, wasn't about business. It was purely about private stuff, and I got him engaged. So yes, not a lot of time, but enough to get the conversation started.
I think that's really important, engaging on a personal level and having that connection with a personal thing, sport or culture or whatever. I think that gives you allows them to know you and break their barrier down, because a lot of people are having people approaching them all the time wanting stuff and work.
Yeah, that's right.
So I find if you just approach on a personal level, you get a better hearing, and later you can bring the work stuff up. You just develop that connection first as a person.
Fully agree. Stop trying to be transactional.
Yeah.
And be a person and find that common interest. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yep.
Absolutely. And you're right. People love to talk about themselves. So just having a great opening question that puts the ball in their field. What's something exciting that's happening in your business right now? Or Colin said knowing a couple of facts about them that you could pull up is a really good approach. And Colin, you mentioned this a little bit that Sandra did it to you, but another great idea that works quite well is if you meet two people that could help each other, you can introduce them at the event. And that really makes you a really valuable person to know and just makes things flow quite nicely as well. So I've seen that work quite well. Yeah. Marissa's just put in the chat, initially the awkwardness begins in finding the right person or group to approach as you're literally the outsider, knowing that it's usually easier to approach a group of 3+ rather than 2. Oh, that's another really good tip. I love that.
And how do you get past that? What do you do? Get that out of the vocabulary. Like, it's just, I hate it. Because your life's not all about your work. Some people it is, but generally, as Kathleen was saying before, get on the personal approach rather than what do you do? Find another way to draw people to talk to you than what do you do? Because there's just nothing worse. And you go, what do you do? Oh, I have a gym. Yeah, great. We can talk about it now. Like, just little bits the little bugbears that I have. So I'm sharing my little bugbears with you guys too, by the way. So.
What do you do? Yep, shut down instantly.
What do you do?
Switched off.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it? Yeah. If anyone's got.
Actually, sorry. Can I?
Yeah.
Sorry, Trendy. I remember I was out. Oh, this is years ago now, and I really had this bugbear about what do you do in my mind, and these people said to me, "What do you do?" I said, "I run a business, but that's not what I do, or not who I am." And I went blah 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 blah, and I thought that was being really clever, but that killed the conversation, and they walked away. That I hadn't worked it through probably really well, but anyway, I thought in my head I thought it was a great idea to get away from what I do. I talk about me. I do X, but
yeah,
wasn't very interesting. Well, I did it wrong anyway. So yeah, I did it wrong.
This is actually a great segue into my next question, Colin. So how would you politely exit a conversation when it's time to move on to the next group? Because I know a lot of us get stuck at that point too.
I did it yesterday with the people from City of Canning, and the meeting was going on like way too long. I said, "Man, I've got a 1:30 webinar. You can't do it always, but I had a webinar networking event's a bit difficult, but I had to do that. I had to, got a 1:30 I got to get to. So I told her why lie to get out of a meeting. But I hadn't thought about that one actually. A lot of conversations come to a natural close. I know you get ones that just gibber at you and tell you about how wonderful they are and all that sort of stuff. And maybe just find that polite way to say, "Oh, I need a drink of water. I've got to go to the toilet." Whatever. I don't know. I know I do it a lot, but I've never really thought about how I do get out of conversations.
This is a good one for the group then. If anyone wants to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I'll pick names. Just ask it. Pick names. Pick them out of the. Sarah, help us out.
Under the bus. Sarah, if you want to pop in the chat how you get out of awkward conversations. I think a really good one is just to either make that point where you do exchange business cards or connect on LinkedIn and you say, great, I look forward to following up with you. And then that's a really good way to move on. Or that's my little rule of thumb that I do. And you shake hands and you move to the next group. Yeah, so that's my little strategy. I look forward to following up with you.
I normally say it's nice to meet you, but I've just seen such and I really need to catch up with them or something like that. Use that.
Absolutely. Yeah, even just saying, yeah, you're right. It was great chatting with you, or I'm just going to mingle a bit more, but let's exchange contacts and you can do the LinkedIn or business card thing. But yeah, I'm just going to mingle a bit more.
I think if you're at a proper networking event, then you could definitely do that. So I need to network and get around and do. But yeah, how do you get away from that? An incessant person telling you, I don't know, how wonderful they are. Or conspiracy theories is even great. I love hearing those.
Just bring up
Like,
Trump. Everybody will run away. That's a the conversation.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad one, actually. Yeah. Starts talking religion or something silly. I don't know. But yeah, it's.
Bring up
I mean,
Scientology.
I'm sure that's a real personal one.
I think so, but I really do think that even if they are running away with the topic, like just saying, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to hearing more about that. Let's set up a time to chat properly later, or let's connect. I'm going to continue mingle" is a really good one. Yeah, but yeah, so that's how you can break out and keep moving around the room so that you're not just monopolizing your time with one person. I'd love to hear from you guys now, though, as we're starting to get some of these ideas flowing. Oh, yes. Okay. So we will do another one on LinkedIn. Yes. Thank you for recommending that. You're right. That should be probably a whole separate webinar. So we'll definitely follow up with some more information on LinkedIn. What happens if
You
you
want to read that? Yeah.
Yeah. What happens if you connect on LinkedIn, request for their email address via the chat function, but then don't hear back? Now, what would you do in that situation, Colin?
Question. It happens to all of us regularly in different forms. It happened a couple of days ago for me on a particular guy I was trying to get hold of, or was interested to talk to. And then I just reread the email, the message, if you want to call it, that I sent him. And I thought, geez, it sounded really salesy, this particular one. And so I just reworded. This particular guy came back. I'm just thinking about him now, Josh. And I wrote back to him and just said, look, I appreciate this. The last email sounded really salesy. I'm actually not trying to do it. I'm actually trying to get some information. This particular case it was, but that's a real personal one in an individual case on that one, Trinity.
I think so too.
I don't think it's a blanket rule for that one. That's depending on the question, what you're trying to do. You're trying to sell them something. Are you just trying to get a meeting? You're trying to get info. Yeah, that's probably a little bit more different. That'd be more of a one-on-one sitting down and looking at the problem.
I think so. And Marissa just said a good point as well, because sometimes that feels like you're going to be sold to, so that can shut down a conversation. So sometimes a better approach, especially on LinkedIn, is to focus on the engagement. So rather than just asking for their email address, like you can start commenting on their content or sharing some valuable insights. It's really important to offer something before you ask.
But why do you want their email?
Exactly.
Someone's going to send me and say, "Oh, what your email?" Well, why am I going to get put on a? You got something to offer me, or is it? Why are you doing that?
Yeah, it's more about building the relationship, and so that's a really good rule of thumb to follow. Yeah, making sure that you're engaging rather than selling. Okay, so and we've got a few more minutes left before we'll wrap up. So, Colin, just in the last couple of minutes or two, I'd love to talk about some of the most common mistakes that you see people making in networking, and even some of the most common fears that people have that prevent them from effective networking, and how we can reframe those.
Yeah, sure. So the most common mistake, and I hate it with a passion, and I said it right at the very beginning, play the long game. This transactional, I'm at a networking meeting to give you my card. The networking event, one of the reasons I hate going to them, stop going to them, because they're full of business coaches. Now, I know that's what we do for a living as an organisation, but we're an organisation. We're not for profit. I just find we're a little bit different in that. Maybe I'm wrong, but also I don't try to sell at all our business coaching to people. As I said, I do it a completely different way. If the relationships works and I can help someone, that's awesome. That's great. It's that transactional. Here's my thing. I can help you grow your business or double your revenue or get you 6 figures, or, all this rubbish that people do. So that transactional stuff I absolutely hate. And I said, build the relationship, get long term, spend it over time. And if something forms and works, fantastic. The other one is that consistent, just talking all about yourself. I know people get nervous and you go, but just hold back. Go back to it again. Ask questions. Stop talking about yourself. If they want to know about you, they'll ask. Then you can chat away, but just calm down a bit, basically, I think is probably where it goes. I probably covered this one as well, was the follow-up. The biggest thing that I see in all network and meetings that people ring me, follow up, come to whatever, they don't follow up, and they don't follow up properly. Absolutely. So follow up would be the big mistake that people don't do. They just don't follow up. And then how much is getting dropped on the table down the bottom? We did some work the other day on our organisation just looking at some missed opportunities, and we're looking at the amount of stuff that our people haven't followed up with. It was outstanding. It was one. What was it? It was $100 and something odd thousand worth of stuff sitting on the ground that wasn't followed up. Could have been. It should have been. And that makes a big difference to business and organisations. So they're probably the ones that there's lots more mistakes. There's heaps more, but that's probably the big key ones that I pick up regularly.
I think so. And I think that, yeah, with the lack of follow-up, especially with networking, I think that there's a big mental block there as well, like a bit of a common fear around that you worry that you're going to be bothering that person. Like you just don't want to feel like you're being a pain.
Okay, so if everyone's in business, and I know we've got a couple of organisations online, but if you're in business, if Daniel and I are talking and we're talking about business, I'm either going to buy something from him or he's going to sell something to me. There's a transaction at some point to happen. So don't be afraid of asking the question. Colin, look, you're looking a bit, well, no, I know you wouldn't say that, but you're looking a bit overweight, but you could get better, whatever the channel is. So I expect to buy something from someone and I expect them to make a profit. So you don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid to sell your product. And also don't be afraid to sell your product for the value that it should be sold at too. That, and I know that's not a networking thing, but that's a confidence thing. And that's about understanding what you've got to offer and talk about. I probably lost my track there. Sorry, Trinity, but it was basically about don't be afraid to talk about your organisation and the value that you offer and the why you offer that value. I'll go back to that why because it seems to be my life's run around that why. And every organisation or every reason you do something is based around why you do stuff. People can't see I'm hitting my chest, by the way, because theoretically is where my heart is.
I think you've summed that up really well. Like when we do feel that barrier to following up because we don't want to feel like we're bothering people, it's about remembering, the value that you're bringing, the problem that you're solving for them, how you're helping them. So it's just about having that mindset shift to, no, I'm here to help and this is how I can help.
Oh, another thing. Sorry, Trini, I told you I'd go off on my little. It's clarity on what you're talking about too. Like, we're so broad. An organisation like ours, right, we've got an RTO that does all these different courses and leadership and HR and all sorts of other stuff. We've got a community part to our organisation where we help not-for-profits and we help them with membership or board governance, all this stuff. And then we've got Business Station that has incubators and business services and like you try to sit in front of someone in 5 minutes and give them all that. It's just too big. It's too broad. So get clarity on the person you're talking to and what you're going to sell them or what you're going to talk about and stay in that lane. Because it's a bit like, I'm sure you've all done this too. When you're putting a flyer together, you want to tell everybody what you do and all of a sudden that blows. It's 4 pages, whatever. Pinpoint what you're trying to work on, stay on that, get people engaged on that particular bit. Once you've got the relationship, then you can open it up to the wider part. So the mistake, going back, Trinity, is too much pinpoint to stay in the pinpoint and then let the other stuff come out later.
Fabulous. That makes a lot of sense. All right. If there's any questions for Colin, I'd love you to drop them in the chat or take yourself off mute. Got Kathleen in the chat here. Networking happens everywhere, not just at business functions or meetings. Relationship building is the most important first step, in my opinion. Absolutely. It's right. It's just about being genuine, being a human, being consistent, and the right opportunities it will come. So as we're wrapping up, let's go around. Oh, Colin's got a question.
That's a hand up without putting the hand up. Daniel. I'll just wait for him to come off mute. Here we go. Now we can have a conversation. There we go. So you asked the question initially, have we answered, have we helped a little bit?
Absolutely, mate. I particularly like the LinkedIn stuff, even though just because it's something I'm on, but I'm not actually utilizing it all. And I do a lot of writing for our other sort of things, other social media. I could easily put that on there. But also just very handy. It's obvious really now that you've said it, but just preparing and making sure you know what you're going to say, who you want to say it to, and preparing a bit of a pitch about your business and show the emotion and things like that. And just about the transactional thing, the long-term game. I thought that was really handy as well. So definitely some great tips. So I appreciate that.
Cool. Just on LinkedIn, Daniel, a lot of your clients or potential clients are sitting on LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah, I have heard that, but I've created an account. I just don't post anything or go on there. And I've heard that it's useful, but I guess I've not known what to post. From what you've said, pretty much what I'm already posting across our other sort of social medias. I do a lot of informative sort of write-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
I could probably just post that.
Absolutely. Be the, what do you call it? I've lost my thing here, Trinity. The go-to, be the subject expert, so
The
to speak.
thought leader.
And the thought leader, correct. And you think about all the business people that spend too much time in their office and not actually being healthy.
Mm.
They're your target, right there.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
I'm sure we're doing a LinkedIn one another day, or Trinity, will you help me with
I
that?
think that we should schedule a LinkedIn one. We've had a few people in the chat asking for that, and yeah, absolutely, that's
Okay.
something that we can share. So after today, guys, we will be sending around a feedback form where you can request any further information that you would like, if you want one on LinkedIn or whatever else. So please take a moment to fill out that form, because this is the first one that we've done with Peel Chamber of Commerce, and we'd be interested to make sure that this is something that's going to serve you guys and provide the most valuable resource for you possible. But thank you so much for joining us, everyone. It was fantastic to have so much engagement in the chat and live as well. And thank you very much to Colin for sharing your expertise. If you want some more support from Business Station in building your business, we do offer a free initial business coaching session that you can book. So I'll pop that in the follow-up email as well if you have any extra questions for Colin after today, make sure you take us up on that. But we're very happy to help you out there too. And yes, a recording of the webinar will be sent around. And Colin, I'll let you wrap up.
No, that's great. Thank you, Daniel, for being my fall guy on this one. We always need someone to pick on in the audience, so thank you. Appreciate that greatly, and thank you everyone for being part of it. As I said, I don't like networking, I really don't, but it's an essential tool for all of us. We'll do the best that we all can.
Fabulous. Hopefully that was helpful, guys. Thank you very much to Ian and Hayley from the Peel Chamber of Commerce for having us today. If you're not a member of Peel Chamber of Commerce, I'd encourage you to sign up, because they do have some fantastic events and resources to support small businesses in the area. And we look forward to staying in touch and seeing you again soon. Thank you so much, guys. Bye for now.
Excellent. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.